Welcome to Cultivating Victory Live. I'm Dr. Mary Lucero, and I'm here today with co-host Glenn Schul.
Hi, Mary.
Glenn's going to introduce our guest. We have a special guest here today. And before he goes there, I just want to share that our guest today is a network marketing leader. Most of you know that Glenn and I are both members of Youngevity. While not all of our shows deal with network marketing, we have added this to our effort, partly because I had a theory that this might offer a tool for connecting small growers to communities of consumers that are interested in food that's grown for nutritional value rather than for yield. So that was kind of what brought me into the industry. I tried a few companies. I got pretty discouraged with some of what I saw going on in the industry. And then I met Glenn, and he invited me to one of their meetings in Longmont. What they were doing differently in Longmont just totally blew me away. And our guest, Tom Chenault, is a great catalyst for what's happened there. So Glenn, if you'll take it from there.
I'd be happy to. Ditto all what you just said. Tom has been such a big influence in my life. So I came up at this from the very food side of things and nutrition. And Tom is very orientated around building networks. When you really study what needs to happen, we need the combination of things. So, we need to get better at getting the word out. When you look at Tom and all his accomplishments, there's probably nobody better out there. He is one of the best network marketers there are in the country. He speaks regularly at a big event called Go Pro, and is just the kindest, most genuine guy you'll ever run across. As you know, I've worked for a lot of Fortune 500 companies and have been through a lot of their sales training. But the training I'm getting and the things I'm learning in this network marketing company is just off the hook. With that, Tom, we want you to just talk whatever's on your heart, and we'll ask a couple questions and we'll go from there.
All right, but it's very, very exciting to get to talk to you guys. Talk about a team that is getting the kind of national longevity attention. It's unbelievable. And I just want to thank you for that, because people are talking about you everywhere. My little group from San Antonio, Texas, came to Colorado, and I thought they came up here and drove 16 hours to see me, but they came to see Glenn's farm. And they understand the basis of Dr. Wallach's message is what Dr. Mary and Glenn are doing. And it's very, very exciting. So I'm with you, and ask me no questions. I'll tell you no lies. What do you want to know?
Would like to know a little bit kind of about the history of Youngevity, because I understand you've been with the company for 20 years.
Actually, longer than that. I was with Dr. Wallach in a company that was a predecessor to Youngevity. And Dr. Wallach was just this driven man over 20 years ago when I met him. And I was in another company, but I was completely mesmerized by his energy and his message. And he wasn't really a network marketing company at that point. It was a bunch of product users playing like they were network marketers. So the game for a network marketer like me wasn't quite fast enough, but I could not get away from his message. And the more I tried to get away from his message, the more I looked at the company I was in and realized that they were not doing what Dr. Wallach was. And maybe I could come aboard with Dr. Wallach and become that network marketer that company desperately needed. And I wasn't popular at the very beginning. We were a tiny company, and this was 20 years ago. And they were based in a house in Chula Vista, California. And finally, we grew enough to get to a tiny office. It was just Steve Wallach, Dr. Wallach's wife, Dr. Malan, who was a Harvard-educated microsurgeon in her own right, and Michelle Wallach, Steve Wallach's wife, and then Richard Renton, the formulator. And they were just this band of merry people that were just building a big company. They knew they were going to do it. The previous company did things so wrong, but Dr. Wallach and Steve and all those people were extremely successful. And Dr. Wallach and Steve Wallach all had a choice at that point. They could go to another company that was going to have problems, or they could build their own company and do it the right way. And they said they're going to forego profit, they're going to forego sleep, they're going to forego everything. And they jumped in the lake and started this company called Youngevity. and the rest is history. Dr. Wallach's message is exactly the same 20 years later. The medical doctors have come to us. They are all changing daily. Now they talk about using salt, using butter, all that stuff. Dr. Wallach has been saying this forever. And instead of him conforming to what they had to say, every one of these people have come to what Dr. Wallach's talking about, which is so exciting, Dr. Mayer.
So what were the key points in Dr. Wallach's message 20 years ago that drew you into this small and struggling company?
Two things. Number one, his work ethic was like mine. 300 days a year on the road, sleeping on lumpy beds. He didn't have any money back then, so he and a guy named Blake Graham and a guy named Todd Smith and a guy named Dan Graham would literally split a Happy Meal 4 ways on the road. That's budgeting. And then they would all stay in a terrible hotel room, all 4 of them, to save money, to go to a gymnasium, to sit there for 3 hours with maybe 10 people in the room when somebody thought they were going to have 200, and then go do it tomorrow. So I knew he was my kind of guy. The second thing that I loved about him was his message of minerals over vitamins, because everybody has vitamins. Everybody, take your vitamins, take your Centrum, take all this. But nobody was talking proprietary minerals from a source in Utah. And once I understood that that was the catch, it was all over but the crying. It was pretty easy because we had what other people needed, even if they were in another vitamin company, to make their vitamins work.
And that's something that I kind of keyed into when Glenn started talking to me about Youngevity.
Yeah.
Mineral foundation. Because, of course, my big thing is the microbiome, and let's fix all the microbes in our body. If you don't have the raw materials there to build food out of, then the microbes aren't going to be there. And the minerals are key to that layer.
No question. No question. And you're 100% right. And it gave me a talking point. I got in Youngevity for the money, and I ended up with the health. Most people got into Youngevity for the health and ended up with money. I was exactly the opposite. Here I am, 66 years old, on no prescription medication. I have all the money I need. I have all the time I need. And my health is absolutely the most important part of the whole thing. And I've got it. So what I've got now, you guys all already knew. You were all health driven at the very beginning. So it's very exciting that I'm following in your footsteps, Glenn Schultz.
You definitely find professional network marketers who are extremely money driven. And then you find thousands of people who join for the health benefit or the product use or whatever. You end up with this kind of bipolar industry that people either love or hate.
Right.
I guess I saw kind of a different culture developing in your meetings in Longmont. Can you talk to us a little bit about what's different within Youngevity that keeps a company where everybody's united?
I think the answer to that is me, arrogantly. And the reason I say that is because of this coffee shop interview I use. When I first got into Youngevity, I was a high-powered multi-level marketer. And man, if I'd go up on that stage and start talking about multi-level marketing, they were heaving tomatoes at me because they didn't want to hear about multi-level marketing and making money. They wanted to hear about the vitamins and the minerals and the benefits of the products. And so that kept going. And everywhere I turned, I found myself in conversation with people where I was using my agenda. And I think that I was failing on the side of the business building agenda because that's what I am obsessed with. But I think other people fail on the side of the health agenda because that's what they're obsessed with. And I don't think that you should be obsessed with anything except the person across the table from you and getting to know who they are and what they want and finding out what they're obsessed with and then feeding that obsession instead of just barking at them with something they don't want to hear about. So today, I never talk to people about the product if they're interested in the money until they're ready to go. And I don't talk to anybody about the money if they're interested in the product until they're ready to go. All I am is a tour guide and a talent scout. Now, that's the beautiful thing about Youngevity and all the verticals. On any given day, you've got different interests, different things that you're going to get done. And inside of Youngevity, if I need to buy some coffee, if I need to get a credit loan, if I need to borrow some money, no matter what it is, if I want to buy some nutrition or some skincare, I can do that. And what I love is I'm no different than everybody else. And I just meet with people. I find out what floats their boat that day, and I figure out a way to make Youngevity fit in that. That's why we're all so united. The prevailing message, by the way, is 90 for life. The 100% message is Glenn Schultz's soil. There is no question about it. But that's every living human in Youngevity. It's the most important thing. But I'll tell you, take a look at me. There's days when I need money and I don't give a rat's about the soil and the vitamins and minerals. I got to go make some money. And there are days like right now where I need to stay healthy more than I need money. So my focus and my obsession right now is health. It's cool. I just sell people what they said they want to buy.
And one of the interesting features of Youngevity is that you do have such a diverse product line that you can kind of address multiple needs for multiple people.
Yeah.
Through the company. How did that come about? How did Youngevity get from 90 for life and this mineral formula to a company that sells everything from clothing and makeup to a nutrition line comparable to a natural grocer's?
Steve Wallach is a visionary. Dr. Wallach's son, Steve, works as hard as Dr. Wallach, but he never leaves his office. And he realized that every one of the giant network marketing companies that last a long time, that last over 20 years, are multi-product companies. And so he realized that transfer buying, and that's what I call it, some people call them verticals and all that stuff, that transfer buying was the ticket. So instead of, a lot of people use Amazon as a parallel to what Youngevity is doing. But let's face it, if you walked into a grocery store and if only what you bought in that grocery store was the only thing in the store, you'd only go there a couple times. But you're in different moods for different things on different days. And so Amazon or something like that is who we want to be. We want to be that place where you can buy from yourself literally anything you want versus having to go someplace else to get it. It's pretty cool.
Where do you see Youngevity headed?
Every company says they are the next $1 billion company, which is noise and drivel, and that makes me nauseous. What I like to say is, here we are at about 200 million, and I think within 5 years we'll be that $500 million company, so we'll double. And if we catch any kind of wave, we'll head toward that 750 or $1 billion. The reason I say that with such confidence is, we are so strong in the United States now, but 92% of our business is here. Yet only about 40% that's wrong, less than 40%, maybe 20% of all network marketing business is done in the United States. It's almost all done in Asia and South America and all those places. So as a result of that, us opening up all these markets right now, and they are opening like crazy. We just opened up Colombia. It goes on and on and on. We're open in Asia. That explosion is going to take us to all those next levels, and it's going to be exciting.
Do you see an advantage to a slower growth model as opposed to the every network marketing company that says they're going to be a $1 billion company? What's the difference in mindset between those two companies, and what is the strength?
If I were Steve Wallach, we'd have been out of business because I cut 12 times and I measure once. Steve Wallach measures 12 times and cuts once. So he is not a fast growth guy. It's taken us 20 years to get to $159 million a year in sales. He is slow and steady, carries the day. And he wants to manage his growth. He wants to maintain his growth because he takes personal responsibility for literally everybody in this company. So he knows how important it is to make good, solid, prudent fiscal decisions.
I think if you look at industry statistics, it's often thrown out there that people join network marketing, but only maybe 2% of the people who join actually make it up into the big income. And then you've got a number who pay their bills with it. And then you have many, many who through their entire career only enroll 2 people. How do those numbers compare within Youngevity as opposed to the industry as a whole?
Our retention is much, much higher because of the virtue of the customers that we've got all over the world that keep buying and buying and buying. Where network marketing gets in trouble is they make customers distributors too quickly. And by virtue of the definition of the word distributor, a distributor would be defined as somebody that distributes something. But network marketing companies bring all these people in as distributors who never had any plan to distribute something. They just wanted to buy a great product. And what I love about Youngevity is they have distinguished between the two. And our job is if somebody says that they want to distribute something, they become a distributor, and then they're going to get paid for doing that. And that average goes up. So our job as leaders is to make darn sure that we are identifying people that want to distribute something and help them do that. Where I think that the industry's made a big mistake over the years is just throwing things against the wall and hoping something sticks.
Well, we actually have a number of people on the line. I'd like to open it up to questions from the audience, from other members, because Tom, you're a tremendous resource.
So let me ask this question of Tom. I know that he, and Suzanne, I'm sorry, you're next.
Yeah, please.
You do a weekly radio show, and you're very involved with the industry as a whole. So you get to interview other other leaders in other companies and alike. So how unique is it that Youngevity really makes that distinction between users and distributors, and users are just as important as distributors in the company's eyes? So flesh that out for me.
It's really important, especially in today's political climate. You know, the Herbalife ruling said that you really have to pay attention to your customers, and income claims and product claims are really, really a bad mistake. So number one, companies that embrace that say we are going to have a high ratio of customer to distributor are the ones that are going to be around for a long time. Youngevity didn't have to change too much because that's always been their philosophy. This is not a get-rich scheme. It's a get-rich-slow plan. And although Youngevity does pay people in the beginning, the middle, and the end as well or better than all those schemes, at the end of the day, our focus is on creating thousandaires, not millionaires. So our job is to go out and find people that want to change their life and make $1,000, because that's going to change this country. That's going to change this world. If I can get somebody making $1,000 in the Philippines, it's unbelievable. So that's what I focus on, Glenn. So I think that we as a culture are more Joe Lunchbox than, you know, some real hotshot guy that I don't want to use any actors or actresses. I like being a great ordinary guy, working with great ordinary people. Make sense? Suzanne, what do you want to know?
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Good to see you. My mom started on the minerals like in the 70s, so I've known about them since then, and I've had my own profound experience. And really, after I had that is when I came to realize the value of the minerals. I mean, the 90 nutrients are only 16 vitamins and a few amino acids and fatty acids. The minerals are really the rest. And it's amazing to me. I mean, that just seems like such a distinguishing part of that mantra of 90 nutrients. But I also heard Dr. Wallach mention that there were going to be some nutritional schools in Canada that will be aligning with this. Do you know anything more on that, or I was just curious?
I haven't heard anything recently. You know, we've just got tomorrow, Sanjeeves is working with that Dr. Lundell and that Dr. Silliman, who are really prominent MDs. So the word is getting out that people are coming toward Dr. Wallach. What's going to happen is they're all going to make it their idea. They're not going to give him credit. They're going to say, we knew this all along. So you're not going to have to worry about nutritional schools or anything like that. They're already doing it with the salt and the butter. They're already doing it with the tomatoes and what's going on there. So no, I don't think there's any chance the lycopene and the selenium. There's just no chance on earth that it isn't going to end up mainstream and you're going to be in exactly the right place at the right time. It's that simple. Dr. Wallach is becoming mainstream news after all this time. He's about a 40-year overnight success.
Yeah.
Just like Glenn Schultz. Hello.
Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see, Andre. Let me. I think you were muted. Let's try now.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. As Mary mentioned earlier, I was with Free Life, which became Sorvana, several years ago. And my question is, when Youngevity acquires a new company, do you just buy the product and stockpile the product, or do you continue to manufacture the product?
We use their manufacturers unless they have not paid. A lot of times, that's kind of a slippery slope, because a lot of times the reason that Youngevity got them was because they were in some sort of financial trouble, and they usually have not paid their vendor, so we can't go with that vendor. We can have to go someplace else. But we try to use that original vendor as much as possible because they've got the formulations and they know how to make it. Make sense?
So once you buy the company, do the former heads of those companies sort of fade away, or do they stay involved with Youngevity?
That's a great question. There's two schools of thought. Some of them just, they promise us they're going to stick around, but it's the best deal in the world for them because they're basically the master distributor without having to do any of the box filling or anything or paying anybody anymore. But Kevin Fournier from your company, he's still very, very active, and I would tell you that it's only getting better all the time. I don't think it's getting worse. I think that we keep a lot of the top leaders and top corporate people on every acquisition, and we are striving to continue and get better at that.
Thank you.
So Michael, my advice to you guys is find yourself 4 people that share your vision and figure out what their goals are. Like, no kidding. And make them your number one priority, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry that you run across at a coffee shop wanting to buy a bottle of minerals. Take those 4 people and show them how to do exactly with their 4 people that you did with your 4. And that's love them to death, lead them, motivate them, inspire them, and build that nucleus of leaders like I've got. If you can build the nucleus of leaders like I've got, then you have my life. I want you to have my life. My phone in this entire time, there's a ringer on. It hasn't rung. Pardon me. It has not rang. Do you know why? Because all my leaders know I've already called them. I walked to my AA meeting, and then I walked back over here. I talked to everybody before I got here. So there's no way in the world that I had to talk to anybody because I've already done it. And I do that every day. I call my leaders first because I know they're the ones driving my business. And it's so easy to get all involved in, talking vitamins and minerals, talking about Aunt Rose's sore hip, all that jazz. I don't want you to do that. I want you to use the tools, know nutrition for yourself so you're walking your talk. I mean, Suzanne, your story about your mother and your story about your product experience is your greatest thing. Now you need a business story to be able to show people. But at the end of the day, that's all this is telling stories. And if you guys can do that, you're going to do quite well.
I think the vision that I had when I first got introduced to network marketing, I was already committed to doing something to change the way our food systems are functioning right now.
Right.
And all these network marketing products with these great nutritional supplements kept landing in my lap. And I researched the industry, and the light bulb that went on for me is that this is an industry that offers a way to supplement incomes for small farmers that are struggling. Now, most small farmers that are struggling have day jobs. They're working full time at work, and then they're coming home and trying to build their farm. And it's just an ongoing struggle. And I thought this is a way to not only provide additional income, but also a way to connect them to people who actually appreciate farmers that are doing it in a way that's nutrient dense. So that was kind of the vision I started dabbling in network marketing to achieve. So I'm not coming in for the reasons that most people come into network marketing. What I've found as I explored the industry is that there's a lot of exploitation. I spoke this morning to a network marketing leader who, if a company isn't hitting $1 billion within 5 years, he doesn't want much to do with it. What I see in rural communities is that if they get caught up in that kind of a company, they're really lost because growth takes longer. You just can't connect with as many people in as short a time. So, being the devil's advocate, can my plan work in rural communities with Youngevity? And what does a distributor who's far from the resources that you might have in a city like Longmont or a city like LA or Chula Vista, California, what do they have to do differently to connect with people and make it work?
That's a great question. And here's the deal about that. Most of network marketing is in small towns and small communities. Everybody thinks it's in the big cities. It's not. It's in the small communities. And it's on you to build that community. So what are you doing? You're having one-on-one meetings, coffee shop meetings, home presentations, all the stuff that you're supposed to do. Then you start a weekly meeting. Then you start a monthly training. And it's all on you. I mean, you are a farming community. And going out there and building those people that way and letting that thing grow out, you've got an advantage because you're in a small area where you're controlling the conversation a lot more than if they're in the city and seeing all this stuff come at them all the time. So the people that live in the smaller town and network marketing, the smaller towns and network marketing are the ones that win. There's no reason Longmont, Colorado should be ground zero for all the distribution in Youngevity. There's no reason this town would, you could look at the soil here, not that good. You could look at the weather here, not that good. You could look at how many people live here, not that good. You could look at the health of all these people that live here, not that good. You can look at how much money people make out here, not that good. And all of a sudden you're going, well, why is Youngevity so strong in Longmont, Colorado? And it's quite simple. Me. Because I said so. And I enrolled Marianne into the idea. And Marianne enrolled Glenn into the idea. And Glenn enrolled you into the idea. And the next thing, that community gets so big, everybody thinks that, we did something magic. No, I just talked to Marianne and 2 or 3 other people. That was all it was. So simple.
I want to share with the people online that, gosh, the first time I walked into a meeting in Longmont, I just felt like I was in a completely different kind of community. These are a bunch of really warm, really enthusiastic people. Andre and Suzanne know I came back saying, gosh, if we can just replicate what they've done there, if we could make every person feel the way I felt when I walked into that room, there's no stopping us. And I don't know, Suzanne, how did you feel in Longmont?
It was wonderful. The people were sincere, a lot of energy. Yep, I totally agree, Mary.
Yeah, and now we've got the farm, so we are turning it into Destination Central. I start building my house. Glenn and I are neighbors.
That group that came from San Antonio, that was. I've seen some posts later. That was the highlight. They went skiing. They did all kinds of stuff in Colorado, but there's going to the farm was a highlight for them.
Yeah.
First time they saw pigs and petted a chicken and the elk still hanging out. And it's amazing what's happening there. And yeah, we just want to continue to grow that and then help everyone else with their gardens and farms to do the same.
Yeah.
And, nutrition is important, so you need it every day, and so that's where Youngevity fills that gap because not all the time are we able to eat off our farms or gardens, and so what are you doing in between?
Yep.
That's the way we want to kind of build this idea out, and it's working, and it's resonating with the young people. Man, do they know what's going on with food and looking for solutions?